about to talk about Jerusalem, we're about to talk about the center of the Jewish world, about the essence, maybe, of the Jewish existence. And it's not just a plain city. It is a collection of memories, a collection of prayers, a collection of feelings, just put together. It looks like a city, but it feels as something completely different. And so, again, first, the center of the world, then a city lost, and finally, lands and earth. This is the place from which everything began. So maybe it looked like this, back in the past. And this is the building that stands today. Yitzhak actually lies on the rock of foundation, the stone of foundation. And the Jewish tradition, Yaakov, the son of Yitzhak, saw his dream. And we believe that this stone, this place, this city, is the connection between the worlds, between our world and some other higher world. And this is the city of David, just this part over here. Here, there's a place called Ir David, in which archaeologists believe that they actually found the citadel, the home of King David. They are still working on it, but it is a beautiful place, very exciting, very important. When you're in Jerusalem, don't miss it. King Solomon, the son of King David, builds the first temple on that mountain, and this temple stands something like 400 years. And Jerusalem is the capital of the kingdom of Judea, and all kind of things happen. We can read about it in the Bible. Wars and conquests and tragedies and happy things also. Life goes on until one of the days the army of Babylon comes and Jerusalem falls. And we, the Jewish people, the people of Jerusalem, are taken to exile, to the first exile in the empire of Babylon. And we all know this. Al naharot Bavel sham yashavnu gam bachinu, by the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down and we wept, remembering Zion, remembering Jerusalem. We never forgot. We never forgot, and after 2 generations we returned to the same place, and we rebuilt the city, and we rebuilt the temple, and we began our life once again at the same place. Why? Because it is our center. Why? Because it is in our hearts. Why? Because we cannot imagine the world without it. And so we came back, and we built another one, a second temple. And then in this temple stood something like 600 years, until the legions of Rome destroyed the city, destroyed this building, and we went into a second exile. It is said in the Talmud that if you didn't see this second temple, if you didn't see this marvelous building that stood in the heart of Jerusalem, it is as if you have never seen a beautiful building. This was in our mind, and not only in our mind, this was perfection. Building was built by King Herod 2,000 years ago. And King Herod, this is Jerusalem from above. This is the old city. This is west and east and north and south. And you can see the Dome of the Rock here. You can see actually this entire space on which the temple used to stand. And you can see this form, this platform that King Herod built 2,000 years ago. It still stands. People came to this temple. People came to this temple from all around Judea. People came to this temple from all around the world. And actually King Herod built this building over here, this part over here, as an observation point for non-Jewish people who came to Jerusalem, for tourists who came to Jerusalem to see the marvel of this city, to admire. This was one of the wonders of the world. This is one of the corners of the Temple Mount, those stairs. Today we actually found those stairs, and we'll see it in a while. We can see all of those people living their lives, going up and going down, just living in Jerusalem. And that Jerusalem, Jerusalem of the Second Temple, Jerusalem of the first century, maybe this is the Jerusalem that we remember the most. And when you come today to the old city, probably this is what you will see. This is the remains that they will show you. Because this is the highest point of our life in Judea, of our life home. We were there for 1,000 years. We built, we created, we fought. And this is what we created eventually. This city, this center, this heart. In this castle, in this citadel, sits the Roman legion. Because although it is a splendid city, although it is a marvelous city, although it is a home of maybe hundreds of thousands of people, we do not know the exact number, but these are the parameters, it is occupied. And we are governed by the Roman Empire. We are not free. And in the year 66, in Caesarea, on the coast of the Mediterranean, something happens that actually, well, it brings us here to California in 2011. In Caesarea, there were 2 groups of people. Again, we, the Judean people, the Jewish people, and them, the others, the Roman people, we call them Romans. The majority is Jewish, and the Jewish people sent a letter to the emperor, to Nero, asking to be represented in the city council, because we are not. And an answer comes from Rome saying, no, because Caesarea was created as a Roman city, this is not a Jewish place, you already have Jerusalem, you already have other cities, Caesarea is for the Romans, you keep out of it. And the Romans come into this synagogue demanding that the Jewish people inside will sacrifice 2 pigeons, and we know it from Josephus, sacrifice 2 pigeons to the emperor. Now this is a problem in many levels. First of them is that we do not sacrifice anything to the emperor. We sacrifice only to God, not to the emperor. This is one. The second is that it is Shabbat. We cannot sacrifice anything to anyone. Shabbat. But they insist, and we insist not to, and it becomes a fight. Someone begins to push, and someone pushes back, and someone reaches for a knife, and after a couple of hours, the entire city is burning. It is spontaneous. It wasn't planned. But the anger, the feelings, the emotions are so hot that a civil war begins. And it spreads all over the country. And the Roman army who tries to stop it, who tries to intervene, on the other side, of course, is defeated. And suddenly, without even working to do so, without even planning to do so, we are free. Suddenly, there is no Roman legion. Suddenly, there is freedom. In Jerusalem, which is over here, the elder people, the leaders of the Judean people, the Jewish nation, sit together. They all come to Jerusalem from different places, from all around Judea here, from the Galilee over here, from the banks of the Sea of Galilee. They come together to decide what we are about to do now. Because there are no Roman soldiers here, we are free, what we are doing now. And there are people who say that we have to address the Roman Empire. We have to say to them that, hey, people, we didn't mean to. It is all a huge accident, a huge mistake, but we showed that we are serious, so now you are welcome to come back, but remember that maybe you have to treat us better. And there are other people who are saying, no, this is an opportunity. Let's go to the end. Let's be free. Let's fight for independence. And it is a huge dilemma, but in the end, they decide to fight. And they have some time, few months, to prepare the country, because everybody knows that the Roman legions will come back. And when they do so, they will do so with all their might and all their power. And they will do so probably from the north, from here. And the Romans do come back. They do. Now, back then in the 1st century, this is the Roman Empire. It is kind of larger than Judea, just a bit. The Roman Empire goes all around the Mediterranean. And the name, the Mediterranean, in the center of the earth, it is actually from this Roman Empire. This is their central sea. The empire goes all around it. Back then, every 4th person living on the globe was under the rule of the empire. 1/4 of the human species under the rule of the emperor. And we are here, this tiny spot over here. We decided to rebel. We decided to stand up. Why? For freedom. And so we did. This is Josephus over here. Now we can see that he's Jewish because he has a curly hair. This is Josephus. They found this statue in Rome, and for some strange reasons, known only to archaeologists, they decided this is Josephus, but okay. People have to find, I guess. And this is fire. Because we did fight very bravely. We did fight really without glorification, heroically. We stood sometimes until the last man, and we all know the story of Masada. But eventually, Jerusalem falls. Eventually, Judea falls and Jerusalem falls. It was partly because of us. And today, if you will ask a religious Jew why the second temple was destroyed, he will say, not only religious basically, he will say that it happened because of sinat chinam. Sinah is hatred, chinam is free. Free hatred, it means meaningless, reasonless hatred, just because we couldn't agree among ourselves. And what happened is that the Roman legions, they came from the north, and they took the entire land, and then they are standing all around Jerusalem. The city is under siege. They are sitting on the mountains, and they do nothing. They just wait. Because in Jerusalem, all kind of fractions and parties and leaders, we fight among ourselves. And we cannot be united. We cannot stand against those legions. So they just wait. They sit and wait. And we, the Jews, do their work for them. And this is maybe one of the reasons, one of the memories that keep today's Israel so united. Because we remember the last time, we remember what happened back then, and we will not allow it to happen again. And so the legions move in. And they are breaking through the first wall, and the second wall, and the third wall. And finally, the legions, the Roman soldiers, are on the Temple Mountain. This is what Josephus wrote after. And he actually came from Jerusalem. Jerusalem was his home. He was there when it was destroyed. And we can see the description. Caesar gave orders that they should now demolish the entire city and temple, and the number of the slain exceeded that of the slayers. Jerusalem disappears. This is a picture that we've already seen. The temple and those stairs. We call it today the Robinson Arch. Now notice this distance from the ground. This distance here. 100 years ago, it looked like this. You can see this person actually sits on the arch. And beneath his feet, for something like 10 or 12 or 15 meters, all of this is ruins. This is ruins of that Jerusalem, that Jewish Jerusalem of the 1st century. It was still there. And it was just ground. And in some places in Jerusalem, in the old city, it is still there, but not here anymore. This is today. This is today, and this is part of the walls of the temple compound. Actually, the western wall is here. It is the same thing, just a bit to the left. This is the beginning of the arch. This is the street from the times of the Second Temple. Those are remains of shops, of stores that stood on that street, and over here also, just a bit. And these stones lying on the street, they were thrown from above. Those are the stones of those buildings standing above, parts of the temple compound. The Romans just pushed them down, and they fell down. And you can see the street, you can see those holes in the street. There were stones here also. They just crashed down. And we can imagine this tragedy, we can imagine this battle, we can imagine the sounds of those stones falling. Those stones actually fell down in the year 70, while the temple was burning somewhere above. And today you can go to this Jerusalem, you can visit this Jerusalem. This is all part of Davidson Archaeological Center. You can walk there, you can touch these stones. 2,000 years have passed, and we returned to the same place. We're about to speak about that. This is today, again. And we just seen this spot over here. Those stones are lying over here. This is the western wall. It's basically the same wall. And it used to go like this to here, but there are new buildings over here. And if you will go to this corner, if you will go to the Davidson Center, you will stand here, you will see that on one of the stones there is writing. And it is amazing because it is written in Hebrew, a Hebrew that we today can read. And it says, Lebeit hatkiah lehachriz. Basically, to the house of blowing a horn, to declare. Probably, at this corner, there was some kind of, over here, at this corner stood a man with a shofar, with a horn, and his job was just to make a lot of noise when Shabbat begins or something important happens. This was his place to stand, and the writing marked this place, and you can still see it lying here, lying down. And this is actually amazing because we can read it. We can read it. It is the same language, and we don't need anything to read it because we are the same people coming back to the same place. The Romans actually issued a coin, a special coin that they called Judea Capta. Judea Capta meaning the captured Judea. And you can see here the emperor Vespasian. And this emperor, he was basically a general in the Roman army. He began this reconquest of Judea. But then he went to Rome and he became the emperor, and his son, Titus, finished the job. Now we can see that, well, he's not exactly starving, and life is good if you are the Roman emperor. But on the other side of this coin, we can read in Latin, Judea Capta, they captured Jerusalem. And we can see this tree in the middle, the symbol of the land, and we still have those in today's Israel. You can see this tree, you can see this man standing here. He is a Roman soldier, and he stands proudly. And we can see his weapons and his gear over here because he doesn't need them anymore. He put them inside. The war is over. He won. And we can see here a woman sitting and crying. Those are us. Those are us. This is the Jewish people. Standing here and crying because we are defeated, because we are conquered, because we are no more. Jerusalem is gone. Judea is destroyed. And the second exile begins. 60 years after, there is a second rebellion, the rebellion of Bar Kokhba. And those people who remained after the first one, now they are also in exile. And even though there was a Jewish presence probably for the entire time in Judea, until today's Israel, the most of the Jewish nation, the most of the Jewish people were in exile. And this is the third part of the story, the Lion's Gate. You see, 2,000 years passed, and a lot happened during this time. Many bad things that we remember, and many good things also that for some reason we forgot entire life. And the Jewish people, we spread it all around the earth. And there were Jews in China, and Jews in India, and Jews in Afghanistan, and Jews in Russia, and Jews in France, and Jews in America, all over the place. We were all over the globe. But there was something weird about us. And this weird thing was that we never forgot. And although we were in all kind of strange places, like Copenhagen, we still thought, as Judeans, as residents of that distant land, our holidays, our celebrations of Judea. We celebrate the Judean agricultural year. We celebrate our ancient history. We never forgot. And 3 times a day, the religious Jewish men stood up and prayed, looking towards Jerusalem. And on the walls they were painting of Jerusalem, and each Passover, each Pesach, we said, "L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim habnuya." Next year in the rebuilt Jerusalem, we never forgot. And we began to come back. We began to come back, and we all know the story. People gathering together, people building a state, people building a country. And one day in 1948, May 14th, 1948, the State of Israel is born. And we can see him over here. Proclamation by head of government, Rebbe Gamliel. And when this happens, we are in the middle of a civil war. A civil war between the Jewish people of the land and the Arab people of the land. The United Nations just decided 6 months before it then that the land will be divided and 2 independent countries will appear, a Jewish country and an Arab country. But the Arab population of this place said no, we do not accept it. And the war began. After the declaration, the war moves into a second phase. It was just a civil war before it, but the word just is not correct, because it was a terrible war. 600,000 Jewish people living in this future Israel. We have almost no weapons. The British mandate will not allow us to. And on the other side, 1,200,000 Arab people, armed, well armed. The British don't care. And the war is desperate. And sometimes it seems, especially in March 1948, it seems that that's it. Maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, but we cannot deal with this any longer. But things change. Things change to the better. And we stand and we declare independence. But the day after, another war begins. Because we are surrounded by the Arab countries. And those countries said that if we will declare independence, they will come. And they actually came. The army of Lebanon, and Syria, and Jordan, and Egypt, and Iraq, and all kinds of units from other Arab countries. They came to destroy this land that was just born. We are speaking about Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem, it is the story of the Jordanian Legion. Once again, this fort. Once again, this place. Jerusalem, Legion, again. And this is May the 28th, 1948. Just 10 days or 2 weeks, basically, after the Declaration of Independence. The Jewish quarter of the old city falls to the Jordanian Legion. We can actually see a Jordanian soldier over here. This girl is a Jewish girl, one of the residents of the Jewish quarter. The quarter burns all around. And the Arab mob somewhere in the distance, they torch the buildings. And actually you can hear the shouting. You can hear the shouting. 2 words, Idbach al-Yahud, slaughter the Jews. And the Jordanian soldier, they give an order. They order all the Jewish people of the Jewish quarter, 1,700 people, to gather in the center of this quarter. And they go. And they go. Those people who maybe they were born in Jerusalem, maybe they came from other places, those old people, they take whatever they can, and they cannot take much, they are old. And so they take maybe a few clothes, maybe a Torah, maybe a Siddur, and they go. They go because those strange soldiers, those foreign soldiers, told them to go. basically just as it happened 2,000 years ago. And they are gathering in the center of the Jewish Kotel, all together, women, children, men. They are after 6 months of war, and they are surrounded by those people, by the Jordanian Legion. And during those minutes, the commander of the Jordanian Legion, his name was Abdallah Etel, he steps in front of those people and he demands that all the fighters, all the Jewish fighters, will step aside. Because he wants to take them to Amman, to the capital of Jordan. He wants to do a victory parade, just like the Romans did 2,000 years ago. He wants to do a victory parade and he demands that the fighters will step aside. There are 1,700 people over there. How many did it? How many stepped aside? How many do you think?
None. 1,600.
None is a good idea. All is even better. 1,600 is also an idea. Let's give proportions to this, okay? The Jordanian Legion, there were 2 battalions over there, something like 800, 900 people. The Arab fighters, the Arab men, something around 1,500. Basically, let's say 2,000 warriors of the other side. The Jewish fighters do step aside, 26 of them, because those are all that remained. There were more in the beginning, 150, but they are killed by them or wounded, and only 26 are still standing. So they step aside, and Abdallah Etel, he understands that he cannot take 26 people to a victory march in Amman, because it's funny, it's embarrassing. He fought 10 days in Jerusalem against 26 people, come on. So he takes all the Jewish men. The youngest is 13 years old. The oldest is 82. And all the others, women and children, they have to leave. They take their things and they have to leave. And they are walking out of the city through this gate, the Zion gate. On the other side, it is already Israel. And Israeli soldiers accept them, just a few meters from here. But this is another exile. And as they walked to this gate, it is a walk of 15 minutes maybe, they've seen their synagogue, a churva, burning and destroyed. They could smell the smoke of their houses burning. They could hear the smoke in the distance, Itbach el Yehud. And they are surrounded by the legion, just like 2,000 years ago. After a couple of months, the war is over. And in one of the houses in Jerusalem, 2 men, we all know this guy, Moshe Dayan, the young Moshe Dayan, and this man over here, and this is Abdallah Etel, this is the commander of the Jordanian Legion in Jerusalem. They have a map over here, and they draw a line, basically 2 lines. They are dividing the city. Now, they think, both of them, they think that this is only for the next couple of weeks or couple of months until the politicians will sit together and will decide about the future borders. It is a temporal solution. They do not know that no one will sit together, that this will become permanent. And for the next 19 years, until 1967, Jerusalem is divided. This is Jerusalem. This is the old city over here. This is actually the Temple Mount and the Dome of the Rock. And this is the border between Israel and Jordan, going just through the middle of the city, cutting houses and neighborhoods. Jordan here and Israel here. We can see it on this map also, over here. The border goes just through the city, like this. This is the old city. This is the Dome of the Rock. This is the border. And we are here. We cannot go there. We cannot enter the old city. We cannot approach the Wailing Wall. We are in exile in our own city. Again, a picture that we've already seen. This is the border. This is the old city. And we cannot cross. We cannot. And we can see here that the border goes just through the heart of the city. And it is kind of hard to understand. This is the green line. When we speak about the green line today in Jerusalem, this is the green line. And it goes in the center of the city. Here, between here and here, it is only something like 10 or 15 meters. And actually, Jerusalem is an amazing place because you are in the center of the city, and it is a place of young people and pubs and clubs and a lot of music and noise. And you go 15 minutes aside and you're here in Mea Shearim, which is a completely different place. And you cross this street and you are like in Little Jordan, a different place completely. This is the border, and it is amazing to see it because in today's Jerusalem, when you are going in the street without someone coming and telling you, no, this was Jordan once, you cannot understand this. It is just a street in the middle of the city. It is just another neighborhood. But it is in the center of Jerusalem, and the old city is at the other side. For 19 years, this is the border. And for 19 years, our soldiers, the Israeli soldiers, stand at one side, and the Jordanian legion on the other side. And sometimes everything is good, like here. Sometimes we speak, and sometimes we laugh, and sometimes even play soccer. But we can see that while those two are speaking, the Jordanian and the Israeli, this one, see? He's prepared, because this border was not quiet. It wasn't. Because Jordanian soldiers, sometimes just because they are bold, began firing. And they can see everything. They're sitting at the walls of the old city. Everything is just beneath them. They open fire just because. And it's dangerous. And we build all kind of concrete walls and all kind of protections and all kind of devices to protect us from this random fire. And the city lives. And in the center of the city stands this place, the Notre Dame Monastery. And this is another part of the reality of Jerusalem of those days, because this monastery was actually active. They repaired it. This is 1948. They rebuilt it. The walls were whole again. And one of the days, this is the border. One of the days, one of the nuns, a French nun from here, she looked out of the window. She's an old lady. She looked out of the window and she just, reached forward and her teeth fell. They fell to Jordan. And this is kind of a problem, and she can't go here because this is a different country. And so she goes to some room in the building and she calls the police. And she says, my teeth fell to Jordan. And the police calls the army, and the army calls the United Nations. Because there is a presence of the United Nations in Jerusalem, and they call the United Nations saying, we have a nun in Notre Dame, and, well, her teeth are in Jordan. And the United Nations called the Jordanian government, saying, we have a nun in Jerusalem, and you have her teeth. And the Jordanian army calls the Jordanian army, saying, you know what? We need you to do something. There are teeth that you have to collect. And so there is a committee, after a couple of hours, of Israeli officers and UN officials and Jordanian officers, and they have white flags, and they go, it's very official, with protocols and everything, and they go here, they pick those teeth, and they go here, and they give them to the nun, and the nun is happy. And this is Jerusalem of 1948 until 1967. Sometimes finally, sometimes not exactly, but this is life. This is life, and life goes on, and we got used to it. This is life. Until one day in April 1967. That day, something changed in the Middle East. Suddenly, Nasser, Gamal Abdel Nasser, this man, the president of Egypt, began speaking about war, began speaking about Israeli aggression, began speaking about us concentrating forces to attack Syria, which, well, didn't happen exactly, but it doesn't matter because the Arab street, they listen. And suddenly the Egyptian army moves its forces to here, to Sinai, which they are not supposed to do. And suddenly Nasser closes this place, Tehran, preventing Israeli ships or other ships going to the Elat port over here. And suddenly the Syrians over here, they do the same, mobilizing their armies, moving them towards the border. And in our radio, we hear this. We hear this in Hebrew, because the Egyptian radio, they actually transmit in Hebrew to Israel saying, we will defeat you, we will slaughter you, we will tear you apart. They are speaking very openly and very rudely about war. And the basic message is, we are coming. We are coming. Now, we in Israel, we are kind of confused because of this. But the situation gets more and more serious. We are trying to speak with our neighbors, well, without any luck. We are trying to speak with the world, United Nations, Europe, all kinds of countries, the United States, saying, people, hello, dear world, something is happening, there's war coming, maybe we'll do something, but nothing happens. Then, in early June, Nasser, the president of Egypt, calls this person, King Hussein of Jordan, to Cairo. And he basically says to him, you are with us or else. And when Hussein goes back to Amman, to the capital of Jordan, he goes back with 3 battalions of the Egyptian army that are supposed to keep an eye on him. And he goes with a general of the Egyptian army who basically commands those battalions and also keeps an eye on him. And we are very concerned, because we know that it is only a matter of time until something will begin here. This is the Prime Minister of Israel back then, Levi Eshkol, over here. And he has to make some very, very hard decisions. And during this month or month and a half, he's been criticized in Israel for doing nothing, for not being aggressive enough, for not being, I don't know, just being passive. The Israeli society says, war is coming, do something. But he waits. And today our opinion in Israel changes a bit, and we begin to appreciate him, and appreciate this waiting, because this is June the 5th, 1967, 7:30 a.m. This is the minute in which Operation Moked began. And Operation Moked means that the entire Israeli Air Force goes to the sky, and they fly east. They go around Egypt, and they return to Egypt from west to east. They go very low, they go beneath the Egyptian radar. They approach the Egyptian airfields, and they come here it's something like 7:45, while the Egyptian pilots having their breakfast. No one expected it, and after a couple of minutes, or maybe a couple of hours, there's not Egyptian Air Force anymore. Then the tanks move to Sinai, through the desert. And very, very quick, very fast, everything is clear. Everything is clear, but not to them. And those are the heroes of our story. These people belong to the 55th Brigade. They are paratroopers. They are reservists. They just finished their military service. They are very young, 22, 23. But now they are drafted again because war is coming. And now they are waiting at some forest in the center of the country, not so far from the Tel Nof Air Force Base. And they are supposed to jump in Sinai. Their plan says, and we can see them getting some briefing, their plan is to jump from planes in Sinai to take over a mountain passage that is called the Mikle, and to wait for the other forces to arrive. But when everything starts, it starts so quickly, and the success is so immediate that they do not have to go anywhere. And so there is some confusion until someone says, guys, we are going to Jerusalem. And what are they feeling? What do you think?
Elation.
Guys, they are depressed. Because jumping in Sinai, in their minds, it is respect. It is a combat jump. There was only one in the entire history of Israel. This is respect. They are soldiers. And Jerusalem is, nothing will happen in Jerusalem, they think. We will miss the war. Somebody else will fight in the south or in the north. We will miss the war. They think that Hussein, the king of Jordan, he will not do anything. And so they will just wait aside while other people will do all kind of heroic stuff. We will miss the war, they're saying. But they are wrong. And they are moving to Jerusalem, and as they approach the city, they drive all kind of side roads. They can hear shooting, they can hear mortar shells falling, because the Jordanian army is no longer the Jordanian army. That Egyptian general sitting on Hussein's head, he gives the orders now. Nasser gives the orders now. And so the Jordanians, they begin shelling, and they're actually capturing the UN facility in the center of Jerusalem, and war begins in Jerusalem also. And so the paratroopers arrive to the city while the city is being bombed. It's being shelled. They are entering houses, just private houses, private apartments that people are opening for them. One of those, his name was Zamush, one of the officers. He was a platoon commander. And he walks into one of those apartments, and the person living in this apartment approaches him and says, well, Zamush, listen, I want you to take something. And Zamush says, okay, what? And this man gives him a flag, an old yellow flag, an Israeli flag. And Zamush says, okay, what for? And the man says, my mother, 19 years ago, she was one of the fighters of the Jewish Kotel. And when they went to Jordan, to captivity, they also took some of the women fighters. She went to Jordan, and she took this flag. This was the flag of the Jewish Kotel. She took it with her to Jordan, and it became the flag of the camp of the Jewish prisoners in Jordan for a year. And now I want you to have it. I want you to have it because I want you to put it above the Kotel, the Western Wall, when you will arrive to it. And Zamush says, what are you talking about? I'm not sure what we are about to do. I don't know. Maybe we will, I don't know. Who said that we are going to the Kotel? And the man said, never mind, just have it with you. And Zamush takes the flag, and he goes to a person named Motagur, who was the commander of this 55th Brigade. And he tells him the story, and he asks Motagur to allow him to be the first, him and his soldiers, to be the first to arrive to the Western Wall in case we will go there. And Mota promises. And the paratroopers move. They go through the streets of Jerusalem. They do not know the city. Most of them are not from Jerusalem. It is all very confusing to them. This is the border. And in the middle of the night between June the 5th and June the 6th, they are crossing the line. They are crossing the line into those neighborhoods. And the buildings stand very close, and the Jordanian army is ready, they are waiting, and the battle is very, very hard. And the paratroopers came to Jerusalem disappointed. And then they heard the sounds, they are at war, so emotions get higher. They told later that most of them didn't think about Jerusalem, about history, about Jerusalem being the center of the world, nothing. It is just a military objective. They did feel that they are fighting for their country, they did feel that they are fighting for their friends, but they did not think about history, about meaning of things. They are soldiers, and so they fight. One of the first places they arrived to is Ammunition Hill, Givat Tachmoshet, a place just at the other side of the line, a place in which the Jordanian army and the British army before kept the ammunition. And it is a very fortified place. They have those tunnels over here, and it is a night battle in the dark. We are not prepared. We do not know how many Jordanians are there. It is a terrible battle, terrible fight. And during this fight, 24 paratroopers fell. This is in Givat Tachmoshet the next day. They continue to the alleys and to the streets. They are going from house to house, and the fighting is from house to house. The Jordanian Legion is everywhere. They are walking the streets. This is one of the pictures. This is actually taken a few weeks after the war. They came here because at this place, one of them was killed a couple of weeks before. Look at the stairs over here. You see it? And they are moving. By the second day, the north here, once again, north, south, east, west, the north is ours. During that day, another brigade, the Jerusalem brigade, fought at the south, and they are here. The headquarters are here, at the Rockefeller Museum, and Motagur, the commander of this division, sits here. And the second night of the Six-Day War, at this night they want to climb the Olive Mountain, which is here. And they have to go here, to this junction, turn left, go down, and climb this road over here. But it is the middle of the night, and the people who are supposed to do it, they are not from Jerusalem, they never saw this junction. And in the dark, they are getting confused, and they go here. Now here, it is a hill, and for the people sitting on the wall, they cannot see this road. They cannot see those paratroopers moving. But here, at this bridge, they are exposed to the city walls, and they take heavy fire from the walls, from the mountain, and the entire second night of the war in Jerusalem is dedicated to evacuate those people stuck on this bridge. There's a terrible picture from that is told by one of the fighters. A small unit of paratroopers went in the middle of the night, after the battle is over basically, to seek for some survivors, maybe we forgot somebody, and they are going by foot through the valley, and they are going here, and one of them climbs this bridge, just climbs above it, and everything is silent by now. The Jordanians, they fire some random flares, thank you. They fire some random flares, and he climbs this bridge, and as he gets up, he sees the burnt vehicles of the paratroopers at this bridge, and a flare goes up, and on this wall, one of the Jordanian soldiers begins to sing. They are standing there, and it is a slow, a sad song going above all those hills, from stone to stone, from hill to hill. And this is a very powerful moment for those paratroopers. They go back, and it is the next morning, the third day of the Six-Day War. Motagur from here gives an order to climb up, and the brigade goes up. Everybody except Zamush and his company. They are still here waiting for the order to go here, to the Lion Gates, and enter the old city. Everybody else are going up and taking the mountain of Olives here. And Motagur, the commander of the paratrooper brigade, Motagur, an Israeli officer, Motagur, a Jewish man, a Judean man, sits on top of the Olive Mountain. They are here. They are looking over the old city, the Jordanian old city. We can see the Temple Mount. We can see the Golden Gate, Sha'ar HaChamim, Gate of the Mercy, here. The Jewish tradition says that the Messiah, when he will come, he will enter the city through these sealed gates over here, Sha'ar HaChamim. And over here, we cannot see it on this picture, but we'll see it after a couple of pictures. There is the Lion's Gate. And Motagur, from here, gives the commander to enter the old city. And in this moment, it is as if all this history, all those years, somehow they are put together. We spoke about Jerusalem being the center of the world. We spoke about all of those battles, the Great Rebellion, the importance, the people, the zealous, the Roman legion who actually sat over there. And suddenly, or not so suddenly, an Israeli commander gives an order to enter the old city. And what we are about to hear is actually a recording of this second. You can see Motagu, you can see that he holds a microphone. He's talking on the radio. We are about to hear his voice from this exact second. This is an actual recording from 1967. And those are the words of Motagu. The battalion commanders. We are sitting on the ridge, looking over the old city. And soon we are about to enter the old city of Jerusalem that all the generations dreamt about. We will be the first to enter it. 8 tons tanks will move to the left and will enter towards the Lion's Gate. Move towards the gate. The parade will be at the plaza up there. Move. And we can hear them run. Because they do run. They go down the hill again. Well, they go down the hill again. They go here. They're going up this road, up this straight road, and to the Lion's Gate over here. Now, Zamush, the officer with the flag, and his company, they go from here, next to this hill, and also entering the old city. And he's actually one of the first, or maybe the first, to enter. This is the Lion's Gate, and those are the paratroopers getting in. What we are about to hear is another recording from this second. This is the voice of one of the reporters of the Israeli radio who joined the paratroopers. Notice the background, the sounds at the background. They are running towards the old city. They are running towards the Lion's Gate. They're trying to find some cover. They are being shot at. Listen to the voices. We are going on one of the main streets of Jerusalem, headed towards the old city. We are about to enter the old city. There is still fire from all around. We are moving towards the entrance to the old city. Someone asks to move from the way. Thank you very much, someone says. They ask to open gaps of 5 meters between the soldiers. Someone asks to open 5 meters. It is still dangerous. There is still firing of snipers. We are stopping to the left, the Olive Mountain, and we are moving towards the city. They are here. In front of us, the Russian church, here. I'm staying low. We are going next to the mountain, next to the fences. We are still being shot at. Israeli tanks are standing at the gates of the old city and forward to the Lion's Gate. They are entering the old city through the Lion's Gate. It is called the Lion's Gate because of those, see, lines over here, the decorations of the gate. 19 years ago, through this gate, through the Lion's Gate, the fighters of the Jewish Kotel left the city to captivity from this gate. 19 years after, the Israeli paratroopers are coming back to this gate again, to the old city. And the next picture, I actually found it just a couple of days ago, and I immediately put it in, because during this fight, and all of this history and all of these emotions, well, just see yourself. And this is just amazing. This is cottage. And Zamush turns left. they are going through the gate. They are going through the gate. They are entering the city. They turn left here. There's a small opening here, a small door here, and suddenly they are above the Temple Mountain. They are running all around. Basically, they are trying to find the western wall over here, and this is all new. Back then, it was built. There were houses over here. They cannot see it. And the story tells that they found an Arab man, Muslim man, an old man, on the mountain, and they asked him in Hebrew. And he actually answered them in Hebrew because he still remembered the Hebrew of his neighbors in the Jewish quarter. He gave them directions, and they are going to the western wall. And what we are about to hear now is a moment that went into history, into Jewish history. And those voices, those words, well, I can tell you as an Israeli that every time I hear it, every time I play this recording, it does something. Every time, all over again. The Temple Mount is in our hands. This is student, the Kotel. The Temple Mount is in our hands. Ceasefire, ceasefire, all units ceasefire. Student stations. This is student, ceasefire. I'm saying again, ceasefire. This is Motabur. This is Motabur. Those are the paratroopers coming to the Western Wall. They are standing next to the Western Wall. This is one of the most famous pictures of the Israeli history in general. This is a less famous picture because this is Zamush holding the flag. And if you will go today to the Western Wall, you will still see those metal bars above it to the left, above the men's part. And Zamush puts this flag there, the flag of the fighters of the Jewish quarter 19 years ago, and we returned. The next voice is again another reporter of the Israeli radio. He goes down to the Wailing Wall. He goes down while the paratroopers just arrived there. And once again, this is... I'm going down. I'm going down just now. I'm going down the stairs to the Wailing Wall. I'm not a religious person. I never was. But this is the Kotel. And I am touching the stones of the Western Wall. And the paratroopers are saying a blessing, Shechianu. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us here. And this is the voice of Rabbi Goren, the chief military rabbi. Blessed are you, Lord, who built Jerusalem and bring comfort to Zion. And you can hear them singing. And they are singing in the crowd. The hope, our national anthem. And they are saying, as long as deep inside there is a Jewish soul making a sound. And towards the east, forward, the eye watches to Zion, Jerusalem basically. Our hope is not lost yet. A hope that is 2,000 years old, to be a free nation in our land, the land of Zion, in Jerusalem. To be a free nation in our land, the land of Zion, and Jerusalem. Our hope is not lost yet. Now today in Israel we sing this song quite often. And not often enough maybe we stop and we think about its meaning, about the actual words, about that it tells an actual story. There was 2,000 years of exile, and there was and still is this hope. And we are, finally, a free nation in our homeland. And this is also something that is kind of new to me. 2 days after, one of the paratroopers came back with his girlfriend and they had a wedding in the middle of the night, just next to the Wailing Wall. And this is today. This is today, and we have a couple of minutes left. I will take another minute aside. 21 years ago, I came to Israel from the Ukraine, from the Soviet Union. And I was 8 years old. And I knew nothing about nothing. But I grew up in the Soviet Union, and my family, they were kind of dissidents, tiny dissidents. Jewish students speaking a lot about the government, and the government knew, and they kept an eye on us. It wasn't so pleasant, but eventually we got out. And we came to Israel at New Year's Eve, Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. And we landed and we went through all the registration, and from here to there, the holiday is already there. And so the Jewish agency, they took us and they put us on some buses and they took us to Jerusalem. And we went very fast because the roads are empty and we are in some hotel, we don't know where or why or what. And a group of people just organized together to get out and to see the city, to see this new place. 10, 15 people. And we went out and we are walking and it's quite nice. It's Jerusalem, September, it's chilly, it's pleasant. And there are some houses, and okay, this is pretty. And some park, okay, green, nice. But suddenly one of the people, he stops and he looks to the right and he just stands like this. And another one, and we all turn. And we are standing in front of the walls of the old city. And there's light on these walls, and it is night, and everything is quiet. And there was this incredible feeling of, that's it. Now, I'm 8 years old. I'm not supposed to feel it, okay? I don't know anything, but everybody else does, and I do also. And we all still remember it, this amazing feeling of, that's it. That's it. We're here. And, you know, you stand there and you don't know the language and you don't know anything, but it doesn't matter. Those are details. The important thing is that this is it. And I want to conclude with this. We already seen this coin, Judea Capta, the captive Judea, the Roman soldier, the tree, the crying woman. In 1958, when Israel celebrated a decade, well, we made this. Israel Liberata. We are even answering in Latin, Israel Liberata, free Israel. And one side is still the same coin, the legionnaire, the woman, but the other side is Israel. The tree is still there because the place it is the same place. But instead of this legionnaire, there's a woman with a baby. And instead of this woman crying, there is some kibbutznik or somebody, and he has some kind of a tree, I don't know what it is, but, well, you get the message. 2,000 years went by, and we are back again. Same people, same place. And this is completely amazing. So this is us. This is Telem. You can check us out. And I want to say thank you a lot for being here today.
כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. והעיקר לא נפחד, לא נפחד כלל. והעיקר לא נפחד כלל. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. והעיקר לא נפחד, לא נפחד כלל. והעיקר לא נפחד